So now let's talk about, demonstrate, and draw the serratus anterior muscle. This particular muscle aids in lateral rotation of the rib cage area, and also in protracting the scapula, or pulling them back away from the rib cage as well. So this is an interesting muscle. It's one of my favorite ones, and some of it is exposed in the lower rib cage area, and some of it's buried by the pectoral muscle. So let's talk about the serratus anterior a little bit further and go there. So you've got my basic layout here, and of the front view here, and I've got these diagrammatic arrows going out because, as you know, as you've seen, we've seen the costal cartilage area. This is different than the costal cartilage. This is about a 50-degree angle, and it runs down further the rib cage, and we'll see that on the side when we do it on the side a little bit later. And that's where these the serratus anterior muscles are going to kind of form at an angle. Now, each one of them, first of all, we'll talk about them. Each one of them there's 9 of them total, and they look like a missile. And it's like, what does that mean, a missile? Well, or a pencil, but they have this rounded kind of, this view in here. I'm going to draw a few here. They look kind of like this, kind of a rounded, sort of flattish round tubercle, if you will, and they come across here, and then they end in kind of more of a point. So a missile or a cylinder with a tube point, however you want to think of them. I've heard artists call them like fingers, and they tend to grab around these areas, so they look like this roughly, and they're very striated, very strong muscles. Artists, but athletes who are very cut and ripped, at times they'll show through some of the anatomy quite strongly. So they have this going on, this kind of an idea, and they tend to fit, they group kind of together, and then they separate. Now, they attach on the rib, and I'm not going to draw every rib, because I'm just going to be so long anyway, but they attach on the rib from the first rib to the 9th rib, okay? And they have this kind of feeling to them. So this is actually kind of boxy in here, but then it gets rounded, and they separate into this missile tip. So it's a tube. So it's very much a tube, right, and a tip. So let's write that out here. It's a tube, okay, like a cylinder, and then it's also a tip or a tip point to that. I think that's going to help, hopefully, quite a bit. Rib cage here, or rib, costal rib. You can see how that's working out and so on. So they have that. Okay, so let's now find where they are, where they originate from, and where they insert to onto the skeleton. Now they come from a land down under. Now they come from the the scapula. So we have a front view, but we see through the scapula, right? We see through the scapula. So this helps to locate them. They actually come from this part. They attach in all of the scapula in the back. Okay, they fit all around and through here. Okay, like so. Draw this very lightly, and then they start to wrap around. Okay, and emerge. Here's kind of the outer edge of where all the ribcage costals would be. That's what that shell is for. We've gone over this in bones of the torso before. This is where they would emerge, and they turn here, and they turn around and come up and through, like so. They turn over and come through. So they're turning around, and then they're coming around this edge. That's important. Now there are 9 of them, and they attach from the first rib to about the 9th. So here's about the 10th, so they're pretty long. Now, you won't all, in the front view here, you won't see them all the way through. That's why they're visually visible from the front at about this 50-degree roughly or so angle. Not quite at 45. 45 is where you'll find the nipples. They're close to the nipples. So this is about at 50 degrees, and maybe even further than that actually, quite frankly, but that feels comfortable enough, I think, for me to get the idea across. Now, so what I do, they start up here, okay, and they come across here, and right, the first one attaches to this top rib. So that's one. And so what I do when I draw them, and I teach my students here, is to get a gesture of them. So that's one. And then we get the gesture of 2, 3. Of course, this is 10 down here. 4, right, of the rib. 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're at 9. So let's show you how they start to become more horizontal, and then they become lateral as they come through here. So they're pretty thick striated muscles, and they attach to these ribs here, and they start to point out now where they attach. So this is very much a cylinder, and they come over here and attach. Okay, we see that. And we see it again coming through and over, and then they attach here. Okay, as they're coming around and kissing through now to kissing the rib, or when I say attached, kind of really is attached actually. Get my terminology straight. So we have this nice action going, right? Striation here coming through. So that's 3. And then we'll see 4 here. And they start to get a little bit more of a turn here to here. And they start to become more horizontal, vertical a little bit further. Now, they're not the ribs. So you've got to see on the model, you've got to be shown this, when the ribs come through, you'll think that it's a rib. It's actually, at times, it is the serratus anterior. Now, some more bits is that anterior now in the front, and serrated or serrated or knife-like, or a knife kind of edge. You can think of that too as well. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Okay. Then we'll go on now to 5. And you'll start to see they begin to, whoops, broken pencil as always. You'll see that they begin to disappear more in this front view. And so remember, they're wrapping all the way around here and back around to where we can't see them. They really kind of disappear where our angle is. That's very important to see. So here we have another finger here, right? Coming around, coming around, coming around, coming around. Kind of tube-like quality, then another one bulge out. And the more muscular, the model has less subcutaneous fat, we start to see them even further. So they really start to show up about in this region further. We want to see everything, but they show up even more through here and more to a side view, which we'll get to some other views in a moment here. So in through here, finger out through here. See that, and we might see a little bit of the last in this edge and through here. And of course they come on around. So we'll put them on both sides in through here as well. So I think that's a really telling mark about, depending upon their point. So about how they turn, what we can see. So we have a rib here, right? We have a rib here. How they attach to the rib about in the middle here. See that? How that's working out for us. And coming through, and of course on down and through like so. And there's 9 of them, so they hit the 9th rib. They attach from 1 till 9. It's really important to begin to see that. A little smudgy. Right in through there, we'll get that taken care of. So a really important point to to delineate is how many ribs they attach to. But again, this is kind of the visual region right in through here, where that really strong angle I've made before, prepping up before, right in through there. So if we came across the other side, we can go a little bit quicker now as we know a little bit. So they're serrated, coming across and over, and then flipping over here, attaching to one, through the we won't see it, but it'll be through the clavicle here, then to two, okay, through here, like so, down, real tube light, so making contours for tubing, okay, right in through here, and then three, so we'll get the gesture, 4, 5, 6, and that's probably all we'll see in through here. So we'll come through here, come around, okay, come on over tube, and then finger out, so it's a tube, and then it has that point pointing through here, right till there, not all the way to the sternum, not even close actually to the sternum. See that on the écorché, through here. There we go. Then another one. They do feel like one big large attachment. And point here. And it starts to get more laterally pointed. Or it's not laterally, but pointed downward actually. Here as it comes down. And so they get more to a point right in through here. So they really hug up tight against that rib cage. It's like somebody coming up behind and really holding tight. It's really important to see that. So we'll put a little value here to make that look like more of a cavity. And through here, here's the end of the back of the rib cage, with the spine obviously coming thoracic part, and then right to the lumbar, right in through there. See that? Nice and tight through here, tightly woven together, tightly bound, and then we'll see maybe one more on this side, one or two more. I'll just put one more right in through here, and they get more horizontal, but they still curving around in that particular pocket, right in through there. So that's our front view here. So let's go now to the side view. We can throw a few of the ribs on here, and two. Attach two more of the manubrium in through here. Okay, and then three to the shaft of the sternum. There we go. More downward aspect. And they attach kind of the middle of that ribbon on that rib for sure. There we go. And then this part here is all bared. The pectorals here, starting right in through here, start to come through and up and over. Of course, they would get buried. So roughly in this area, they could come up. We'll see it on the other side. We start to see that work out for us a little bit. So we start to see that more visually too as well. And this has a downward trend aspect too as well. All right, so let's go on now to a side view and see what they look like from a side. Then we'll do a side and a 3/4. Okay, so now on to the side view and a 3/4 view of the serratus anterior. So now we'll start with the true side view. So what we see now is in this view, I've drawn these out. So you want to draw these out beforehand. So I'll get out of the camera so you can stop it and see it and draw those. And maybe I should add actually a little bit of the spine coming back through here. So the thoracic curve and then to the lumbar, right, this way. That should help. We won't need as much. Well, maybe about here, and then the lumbar back will be through here a little bit, just to give you some better placing in through here, just to see it a little bit more together. So now we're on the side view, and with the scapula here, now we have to see through the scapula because it actually attaches to the back over here, and then pulls, the whole rhythm now is pulling underneath this point of the scapula and moving down to, here's the 10th, so 9th is about right through here. I've got my line now of where I've got the rhythm and the movement for the serratus anterior to move across the rib cage. Here's the costal cartilage line, and this will move across now the serratus anterior. So we've got, you know, 9 of these to draw, and they push this way up to the first rib, which is pretty, it's underneath here, and it's pretty lateral, the serratus anterior muscle through here. So that's 1, then we'll get 2 here. I'm just going to put them all, gesture them out. 3 now, okay. 4, so you can get a feel for them. Okay, they're pulling all the way through here. 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 down into here. And a real visible range is really right in through. Let's get a circle a little bit later. Put it on there. Kind of right in through where I've got that tape. I'll outline that after we do that. That's kind of the real strong visible range. The rest of them here and over here in 3/4 get a little bit, well, they get buried quite a bit by the pectoral. So if we're starting now on this side of 3/4, here's where they attach back here. They originate from here, seeing through the rib cage again, coming all the way, curving all the way around, turning and going back up and over. First rib, right? Roughly, so we'll gesture them first here. It's a little hard to see. Then second, and then through here, right? Okay. Then third. Underneath, I've got the scapula with the acromial process, the carotid process, the glenoid cavity, and of course the humerus. And so I'm going to leave them, and we'll draw underneath. We're drawing underneath them. So 1, 2, then gesture for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a little bit of 9 down and through there, and I can adjust that in a moment. So we'll pull these together. Then you might see a few, we'll draw them over here, attached over through here. Here's the scapula here, and then of course they curve around, and they would come all the way around through here as 1, 2, roughly 2 here through here, 3, 4, 5, and so you can see my line in through here, and then maybe just a little bit more. So you wouldn't even see them through the pectoral, even through in this area. The pectoral will be down here and get covered up. I'll just leave that gesture there so you can kind of tell where they're doing. And remember, they're all pulling up and around and coming up over that way. That's pretty important. So let's do these studies here and get more dynamic with it. So now we're pulling around, coming up and through and over the shell and back over and attaching up here. It's hard to see the first rib underneath here, so we'll just draw what we can in through here, and they start to finger over inside here. Okay, so we've got that. Then we've got 2, like so. Okay, 2 kind of missile tube or finger shaped, however you want to think of it. And that's going to go underneath the glenoid cavity there, obviously, and back over. And again, remember that the scapula is floating above the rib cage because these muscles are underneath. So heavier, stronger attachment through here. Okay. And remember, they aid in stabilizing the lateral movement of the rib cage as well as protracting the scapula. All the way to here. So here they end at the ending kind of tilt line of the ribs, and of course they go on to the rib cage through there, which I won't draw just for the sake of time. Okay, through here. And then you start to get a little bit more downward trending here. So they do really look kind of like these cigars, or again fingers through here. Just take them individually, which is what we're doing, spending a great amount of time to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many are there? There are 9, right? 7. 8. And now 9 coming out underneath, right along the backside here on the scapula. Remember that we're seeing through this bone here. That's important. So let me draw it a little bit stronger here, because we're having to look opaquely through. That's important to see that. And then we have the last one, number 9 here. See how they get turned? They start to turn and point more downward as they come across here. That's important to see. All right, and so that visual zone, like I promised, is roughly right in through here. Move my stuff out of the camera and make it look prettier, right? About right in through here. There's that visual zone. We'll do this in a green because it's just right handy. Right in through here. If we're going to see them more often than not, it's right in through here. Okay, that's that visual zone right in through there that we see. And of course, that's also going to be here. And the reason why is, again, they're covered up by the pectoral up here. So let's go on the other side now and finish these out up through here. So coming up and around now from here, this is the origin point here, and attaching on the ribs. I'll do one rib over here. So rib would be here and attaches to the sternum. This is 1, 2, 3rd rib, like so, and then starts to come back in these directions. So you see that. So you just get that feeling again. There we go, what we're looking at there. And then of course now let's come over and do these. So we have one fingering over, bulging over the feeling of the rib cage in through here, attaching to one. This is first rib cage in through here. C7 is about right in through here. The spinous process that's bulging out, C7. This angle, remember this angle is about 15 to 20 degrees, right? Remember that? So, get that in through here. And number 2 coming in through here, heading out. Fingered, or missile-like, or cylindrical, however you want to think of it. Right in through here. Okay, underneath here, coming around. So on that head of the scapula coming through, so the carotid processes would be on top of that. Then the 3rd one, ruffling in through here, making a bulgy, slightly bulgy or bulkier appearance. Now we get pointing out here, shade these in a little bit so you can see these further. And through here, we get 4. That one might be a little bit big for us, maybe here. 5. They start to come down now, and they start to point downward. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this one a little bit more curved because it's coming along that scapula. All this is curving across and attaches back through here, so we could throw that in color. Okay, now remember, I'm going to take my Sharpie so we can see this clavicle reemerge here, like so. So it's right in through here. It's on top, way on top of that, by the way. That's important. You can kind of blend this out through there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we start to get into more of the visual zone of this as well. Okay. 7, 8, and 9. Number 9, and they hug the rib cage pretty strongly in through there, so they really come across and they kind of grab down through. They kind of grab from behind in through there. So we'll put a little more definition on them too as well. Pointing more down, we could do a little bit, maybe over into, well, we won't see them visually. I don't think it's worth our time because we know that the pectoral will cover that up. So there's that angle, and they'll disappear visually, obviously over and through here. So there we go. Now we have the visual zone here as well, roughly in through here, because the pectoral now will be here, right in through here, this pectoral, and then we'll begin to come upward, and then it will start to move up and then just cover up all that material. So remember that as well as we work through attaching. So the visual zone of that again is roughly right in through below that, so roughly in through here as we see that to work through our ribs. And remember, ribs 1 through 9 are the ones that are attached to the sternum and the serratus anterior. 1 through 9. Of course, we have 12. Here we go. Get this a little clearer through all that mess, and of course the ball, the humerus, comes out of there here. You get to see over that a little bit. That way we see that a little bit further. I think that's better in through there. We get to see right where that out. So there we go. So we have now 3/4, and we have here 3/4 view. And we have profile view, P for profile, of the serratus anterior, and couple that with the front. We have a good feeling of what that muscle looks like. So you want to commit to memory. You know it's a tube. You know it has a tipped end. It's kind of like a missile or a finger. And we have a visual zone. There's 9 of them. And they really do flesh out part of the back. Now the trapezius covers this. Part of the lats will cover, and the teres major will cover that too as well. But they're a very interesting muscle to find and look at and draw, and one that will show up with the right model, the right time in your drawings, and you can memorize it and use it in your imaginary drawings too as well. All right, so let's go on to the next muscle grouping.